1998 to find a way to focus our organization on meeting those customer expectations that I just described. We started off by just learning what it was. We read the books, we watched the movies, we did what all of you have done, and it took us about a year just to figure out what it was, how to speak it, and what the basic concepts were. Like so many others before us, we then rolled out a number of lean tools and techniques like 5 S's and our version of Kaizen events that we call Radical Process Improvements, or RPIs. These were 5-day workshops, like I'm sure many of you are familiar with, that focus on immediate implementation and tangible benefits. Many of the early RPIs that we decided to do were conducted at our small Decorah, Iowa facility. It's about 300 people up there, and we chose that facility because we get our arms around it. We wanted to demonstrate early success that then we could show off and showcase to the rest of the organization and the many doubtful employees that this thing was going to work any better than all the other things they had seen. At Decorah, every employee at that plant participated in improvement workshops, which spanned a period of 7 months to do this. And as a result, we did show that we could demonstrate great success in a number of vital areas. For example, we saw in those 7 months a 22% increase in productivity, a 46% reduction in inventory, a 43% average cycle time reduction, a 21% reduction in floor space, and a 37% reduction in defects. Now, I know you're all sitting back there and saying, I've heard dozens and dozens of lean speeches, and is this guy going to get up and rip off a bunch of percentage increases for discrete events to demonstrate how smart he is? No, I'm not. In fact, that's the last time you will hear me talk about discrete events with discrete savings, because you'll see in a minute why. And then we use that location as an example to demonstrate that in a fairly short period of time, we could deliver better results using these lean tools. At the same time we were doing this, we set out to educate our workforce, including a number of training opportunities, and establish our certification program, kind of like black belt, green belt, those things you've seen done around there. We changed the names. But this was done to promote people to do it. We could have accountability and recognize and reward people for having taken the effort to learn. And that was useful for us. And it wasn't long before we, in fact, saw a proliferation of lean events. And over the course of about 3 years, when we started in 1998, we went from 28 lean events in fiscal year 98 to 210 lean events in 99, and then all the way up to 600 events in the year 2000, and we thought, boy, we're after it now. But it was about the year 2000, almost 3 years into the journey, that we had the next aha moment. We recognized that completing independent lean events in several areas didn't necessarily change the dynamics of our business, despite what we thought it said when we read all the books. That's when we knew that something was required on a grander scale, and we moved to identify our core processes of the business and began to think about how to optimize those core processes. So we implemented something that we called Core Process Optimization, or CPO, a structured approach to analyze each of our major business and operational processes at a macro level. We saw core process optimization as a way to apply lean electronics to our enterprise as a total integrated value stream that involved not only our employees, but our suppliers and our customers as well. That value stream started with our strategy to meet customer needs and included steps to secure an order, then the steps needed to design and develop the product or solution, and finally, the ability to build, deliver, and service that when it's out in the field. And it ended only when we could measure some way that our customers, in fact, were satisfied. We had 5 CPO teams at Rockwell Collins spanning a period of 2 years to focus on the improvements at each of the core processes I talked about. Now, the next milestone on our lean journey came in 2001, not long after, about halfway through this core process optimization, when we took a holistic look at how we were doing so far. Felt pretty good. We had all these Kaizen, RPI events. We had the CPO going. People were moving and shaking. How are we going to do? So, to get a fresh set of eyes, I decided to bring in a lean consultant, or a sensei, if you will. We asked a couple of fellows you may know, Denny Mead and John Shook from the Lean Enterprise Institute, to spend several months with us to help us assess that progress. And from this analysis, we found 3 things that needed significant improvement. The first was acceleration. We needed to move faster. We had set goals in 1998, and we were meeting very few of those goals. We needed to step up our application of lean tools and principles if, in fact, we were going to get where we needed to get fast enough. The second is we needed far greater efficiency in the application of these lean tools. We were spending a lot of time for the results we were getting. And in fact, I kept saying, I said, isn't it a shame that the process to become efficient has become inefficient itself? So as I mentioned earlier, we started off with 5-day RPI or Kaizen events. And once we knew the language, were trained on lean, and had done one of these events and decided to do it again, it still took 5 days. And we learned that wasn't necessarily the best way to go about it. We asked the question, why can't we make those improvements in 3 days or 2 days or 1 day? And then the third area, which was probably as much as any of the rest of the other 2, the most important, was we knew we needed bottom line results, not just results. We weren't seeing the benefit of all this lean effort and activity at the places where it was most important. In order to fully measure the impact of lean, we needed to see a distinct customer benefit, a share owner benefit, or an employee benefit. And we just weren't seeing that. Now, to realize these improvements, they gave us one more suggestion. We needed far more leadership involvement. Our leaders were too frequently delegating lean instead of actively involving themselves, walking the talk, and leading by example. As a result of our own analysis and this feedback, we made what I'd like to call a severe course correction in our lean journey. We took all of our education and all the principles and tools of lean we'd learned to date, along with those recognition of what we needed to apply faster, more efficiently, and more bottom-line results, and we introduced a whole new process built around value stream mapping. We developed what we call our lean roadmap, and that lean roadmap was divided into 2 very separate and distinct tracks as you move through that roadmap. One focused around activity flow, and the other focused around leadership. The activity flow started with a foundation of defining what does it take to win in each of our businesses and functions. What does it take for us to win? That enabled us to identify those elements of our value stream that we needed and wanted to optimize. It allowed us now, by defining a current state and envisioning what a future state and the goals should be, now and only then would we define specific tasks and activities and events that need to be done that would take us to that end state. That end state, which is, what does it take to win? That change was a defining moment in our lean journey, because the question then became not, how many lean events did we do that year? How many black belts or lean certifications our people have? Instead, the question became, what did we need to do in order to win? That most fundamental of business questions. We moved from lean for its own sake, or as an independent initiative of many initiatives, to lean as a success enabler that needed to be part of our culture. Now, the leadership path I talked about within our lead roadmap started with immersing our leaders in lean. We recognized that our leaders needed to do more than just read about lean. They needed to know it well enough to teach it. And so our leaders learned, and they were expected to teach value stream mapping. As a result, they were better able to set expectations, better able to lead their people through inevitable challenges, remove the roadblocks, and set a cadence to make sure that people were accountable for what they said they were going to do, and make their own course corrections when they saw the need. Ultimately, they were also better able to ensure that there was alignment between our value streams and that bottom line I talked about. As we define what it would take to win on an enterprise or company level, we needed to identify metrics, measures because every part of our company would have a different role in that total value stream, from our businesses to finance to human resources, engineering, technology, and all the others. And because they were components of the value stream and did different things, there needed to be an umbrella metric to tie all their activities back to. So we constructed at the same time and introduced it when we introduced that roadmap, the Rockwell Collins scorecard, to provide that visibility. We started at the highest levels of our company, aligning it with our vision roadmap, and we assembled a scorecard to align those goals, which for us as a company was what it took to win. Those goals included superior customer value, sustainable and profitable growth, leadership in our served markets, and the ability to attract and retain talented and motivated people. Within each of those 4 goals, we included things to measure like customer acceptance rate, on-time delivery, sales growth, cash flow from operations, return on invested capital, earnings per share, and market share. We also included sales per employee as a measure of productivity and capture rates to define our success in winning new business. And while many of these already existed, we also included new measures. For example, we collected our cost of nonconformance, which essentially defines all of the waste that existed in our company. I think it took us 2 years to define accurately what the cost of nonconformance was. And those, as well as other measures, made up our scorecard and provided a very visible definition, again, of what it takes to win. And I'll talk a little bit more about those measures a little bit later in my presentation.